Hello again, everybody. This is Dan Clouser, and welcome back to the Journey of My Mother's Son podcast. Today I'm joined by one of my favorite people in the world, Ella Witman. Ella, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah.
So, Ella, I wanted to talk to you a little bit. Obviously, we've known each other for a few years, back when I was with Big Vision Foundation and doing some of the softball camps that we did together. We started out doing some of our Big Vision softball camps, and then we're a fixture at all of our Jennie Finch softball camps that we did over the years. And softball is obviously a game that you love. First of all, tell me a little bit about what makes you enjoy the game of softball so much.
I like being with other people that I don't know and making new bonds with people, and I like just being outside and playing with new people and getting to know coaches and everything.
Cool. So a few years ago, you had an injury to your hip that threatened your softball career a little bit, and also threatened your horseback riding, which is your other passion. Tell me a little bit about what happened and how the recovery process has gone.
So I was playing softball and I was sliding into third base, and as I was sliding, the girl blocked me and my hip impacted to the girl's foot. So I hurt my hip and it kind of went out of place. So a couple days later, I was getting off the bus and I went inside to my house. And my dogs were outside at the time, so I was going to let them in, and the door handle broke, and I fell back, and my hip went out of place, and I broke it. And I couldn't move, I couldn't stand, I couldn't walk. And so my mom took me to urgent care. Then she took me to a hospital, and then I had to go to a hospital and wait for a surgery for over 24 hours. And it was really frustrating, but I was only in the hospital for a couple days. Well, not a couple days, but a day. And then I went home, but I was on a walker and I had stitches in both hips.
So how tough was it adjusting to, being a young girl who's very active to being in a walker and having your mobility challenged there for a while?
It was hard. Yeah, it was challenging because I couldn't do a lot of the things I used to.
Yeah. And then, so I guess there was a time where it was really a question as far as, what the healing process would be. And your mom, being diligent, went and sought out some doctors and some other opinions, and he ended up taking a trip up to Boston Children's Hospital and saw a specialist up there. Tell me a little bit about how much of a game changer that was for you.
It was definitely pretty hard because I didn't know what was going to happen and everything. But once we got there and they said that they could help, it was exciting for me because they told me it wouldn't take me long to get back to what I love doing and everything.
So it gave you some hope.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, you've been a fixture at some of our Jennie Finch softball camps, and Jennie and I have become friends through doing those events. And I guess it was probably about a month or 2 months after your injury, Jennie did a video for you, offering you some encouragement. And then when I was down to visit her in Louisiana, we called you on the phone, and she talked to you a little bit. Tell me a little bit about how that lifted your spirits, first getting the video, and then actually when you talked to her on the phone.
It was really exciting, and it definitely made me it made me get more like, I don't know, just like encouraging so I could like do more things, and like I believed in myself that I could get to back to what I used to do.
Yeah, it's very cool. And then also had Leah Amico and Crystl Bustos send you a video as well. I'm assuming the same reaction, just gave you some hope and some encouragement, knowing that you had some former Olympians pulling for you.
Yeah.
So because of the injury, last year you weren't able to actually participate in the camp as a camper, but you still showed up both days and helped behind the scenes, helped with the t-shirt stand, helped Lori in the tent, and Jennie and the girls. So what was it like, just again, not being able to be a camper, but still being able to participate in the camp and as a helper?
It was exciting. It made me feel part of what I used to do and everything. So it was like pretty fun, and that made me lift up my like encouragement and everything.
Yeah, that's cool. And you got to know Jennie and the girls a little bit more than just being a camper, so it might have actually been a little bit of an added bonus for you, huh?
Yeah.
That's cool. So tell me a little bit about what's going on now. How's the healing process coming on? I think you're riding horses again. Is that right? And how close are we to getting on the softball field?
Yeah, it should be a couple weeks, maybe months. But me and my dad have been throwing, and we're gonna continue to build up my strength in my legs. I do have to get another surgery to take all the hardware out, but that won't be until the whole coronavirus is over and we're making sure everything's good. I do have to continue to get x-rays every year, but other than that, it should be good. I'm back to riding horses. I can do about everything that I normally would be able to do. And yeah.
What's your horse's name?
Jennie Finch.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So what has the injury taught you? Just the potential of not being able to do two of the things that you really love. I mean, what has this taught you throughout this process?
It's taught me more to just like work harder if you have an injury, you just make sure you do like your therapy and what the doctors tell you to do, and it'll be a quicker recovery. And just to make sure that you believe in yourself to get better.
Awesome. So I know with this coronavirus pandemic that we're currently in the middle of, a lot of young girls have had to face the fact of not being able to play softball, which is something you've been dealing with now for the past couple years.
Yeah.
Have you been able to help your friends through the pandemic and help them cope with, dealing with the loss of softball temporarily?
Yeah. My grandma babysits kids, and and two of them are softball players, so I throw with them.
That's very cool. So you're going to be turning 13 here in just under a month, and you've learned a lot of lessons already in life. What are you looking forward to becoming a teenager?
Just making more friends a lot, really, and moving up to high school in 2 years, in a year. Well, yeah.
Cool. All right, we're just about out of time here, but one of the things I wanted to ask you is, the name of my podcast is The Journey of My Mother's Son, which is, due to the fact that Sandy and I are going to be living in an RV here shortly as soon as our house sells, and we'll be sure to swing by your place and show you the RV before we hit the road.
All right.
But the other part of the title is called Many Little People, Many Little Places, which is derived from a Michael Franti song that the first line of the song says, when many little people in many little places do many little things and the whole world changes. So I just want to ask you, as a young lady who's been very resilient throughout this process, what do you feel is one of the many little things that you do to help make this world a better place?
I definitely help a lot more people with their injuries, and a couple of my friends have reached out to me due to their sports injuries, and I just told them about the same exact thing that everybody else tells me, just to believe in yourself and help to get yourself better.
That's awesome. Well, you have definitely been an inspiration to me. I think I've told you that before, but it is definitely from the bottom of my heart. You are an inspiration to me to see how you've battled through this and stayed strong. And that's why I wanted to have you on the podcast, because I think you can inspire others who may be going through some hard times and being able to deal with it. So any last things you want to add before we sign off here?
Not really, no.
Well, thank you for joining me on the podcast, and for those out there listening, be sure to check out my blogs and my other podcasts at Dan Clouser.
You're welcome.
Ella, thanks again for joining me today.